All right, today guys, we're going to be working on a window here, and we're at the infamous Big Jan's house here on Main Street in Oak Harbor, Ohio. We're removing a slider window. A slider window allows you to slide the window open left and right and get ventilation that way. We're going to be replacing this window with one big awning. That'll improve the view. It'll crank open this way, and that'll improve the airflow. And also you can leave the window open even if it's raining on a light rain day. We're also going to be putting on a nice woodwork trim. We're going to be doing new extension jambs and new farm style casing all the way around. So that's what we're going to be doing on this window today. Okay, so this window is also an awning window. This is one that we've done in this kitchen. We do a lot of these over kitchen sinks. One of the huge benefits of an awning window is you don't need a lot of strength to open and close it. And when you're leaning over a sink, you don't have a lot of shoulder muscles to lift a window up or to slide a window left and right. So the crank out awning is great because as you can see, I'm just using 2 fingers here, no muscles involved. So as we get older and our shoulder muscles aren't as strong as they used to be, but that window really cranks open, get a lot of ventilation, a lot of natural convective air movement coming up the wall of the home, and get cross ventilation from any direction. And this entire window is open. I can feel a lot of fresh air coming in right now. But again, it's a huge benefit to have this style of window. The view is completely clean. It's one solid piece of glass here with no obstructing vertical bars or horizontal bars. So it's a great view, a lot of ventilation. If I want just a little ventilation, I open it just a little bit. If I want a lot, I open it all the way. And then to close it, just crank it back down, seat your handle back down into its clean position there, and put your locking mechanisms back down here. And that's it. That's the nice thing about an awning window. And we do a lot of them over kitchen counter sinks or a laundry machine in a laundry room. The awning window can't be overly too large. There are some size restrictions, and we're going to talk about that in the other room on the other window that we're doing and what we had to do to accommodate the size restrictions for the awning. So before we get started on any of the demo, we definitely lay down tarps and runners throughout the entire home. We want to keep everything as clean as possible. We not only put tarps in front of the job site where we're working, but we put tarps all the way through the home. We want to make sure that we're not walking on their carpet or on their flooring. And then we also see here, I'm going to be doing some pounding. I'm going to be removing this trim and this trim here to get ready to remove the entire window. But I do see some artifacts on the wall, so I'm going to carefully take those down and set them off to the side so nothing gets damaged. And that's our prep, getting ready to remove the window. This is just some inexpensive trim that they put on there. It's like that foam. It's just a foam trim. It's not even real wood, but it just breaks and snaps. So we would never use anything like that. But a lot of other companies do. It's quick, it's easy, it's inexpensive. Replacing all of the trim and all of the woodwork with all brand new. I do not need to be super delicate, but quite often we reuse all the original woodwork. The job that we were filming yesterday is a prime example of that. It was a 100-year-old home, and we had to reuse all that trim because it matched all the other windows and doors. But this is going to be all brand new, so if I break it or snap it, it's not a big deal. Look what they did here. Whoever put this trim on, they must have been running out of trim, so they used a little scab piece to make it a complete piece instead of using just one piece. So as you take things apart, you always find little things that carpenters might have done to get the job done, but they did a good job. You didn't even notice it until you started taking it apart. Yep, there's another one. So that's a separate piece that they scabbed in there to make it work. They must have been running low on material or something. This pry bar right here, this is a great bar. We use a lot of this. This tool gets used more than any other tool in our pouch. Makes it easy to get in, and if everything is nice and clean, we're not going to be damaging the wood. So as we pry one piece of wood against another, we're not damaging things and leaving a lot of marks on the wood. So when the job's done, we don't want to be leaving a bunch of tool marks behind. Okay, all the trim is off. So now we're ready to get a few of these residual nails out of here and start looking for screws that are holding this window in. Okay. There we go, so those are exposed. Hopefully I can get to the screws now. Depending on how much dust I'm going to be raising, or if I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting on the outside, I'll leave these sashes in because I don't want that dust and debris to come into the house. So I leave the sashes in as long as I can. So I'm going to take these out, let some fresh air come in here. It's going to be a hot day. I'm just going to take this straight to the truck so it stays out of the way. We have a nice clean opening here, but on the outside there's still all of the trim on the outside. So we removed all the trim on the inside. Now we need to get on the outside and start removing that trim. Nice thing about all the doors that we do, all the doors that we get are wrapped in cardboard. So we use all that cardboard. We don't throw it away until we've used it in a lot of different spots. We gotta get this awning out of here, this is in our way. Now if we're lucky, I'll get these out and you'll get a nice shot of this falling on my head and give you some entertainment for the day. One more. All right, that wasn't too bad. I'm not bleeding, so that's always good. And I know there was one more screw. So we're cutting free the caulk, and we also have to remove the nails. I see a screw. So there's a variety of things. So I need a knife to cut the caulk, nail puller to get the nails out, screw gun to get the screws out. So this all goes away, so I don't have to worry about preserving it. This stays. So as I'm cutting down the J channel, I want to be careful not to cut into the J channel or slip or make a mistake. So this section, I'm just being a little bit slower and a little bit more purposeful and careful. There we go. So that should be, yep, separated now, so that's good. You know, as I get older, I think I grunt more. I don't know if I'm just pretending like it's harder, or as I get older, it just is harder. Let's get this screw out first. There we go. Yeah, so just like on the like what we did on the inside, we are removing every piece of trim. All this is going to be brand new. And when I do the outside of a window, almost 100% of our windows and doors, we do the outside brand new. This is your line of defense against water, air infiltration, and things like that. So this is called the coil or the flashing. And so we custom make this right on site in our truck using a brake and the aluminum. So the aluminum's nice, it's thin gauge aluminum that we can bend and shape, and it's all pre-finished in the colors that we want. But we know that that's all gonna be brand new. So we don't have to worry about 99% of the time damaging this, because we're just gonna rip it off and replace it with all brand new anyhow, because our window is going to be a slightly different dimension than the old window. So we can never reuse this anyhow. So again, we're gutting this down piece by piece, eliminating every bit of this. We're going to get rid of this trim piece. We're going to get rid of this aluminum. We're going to get the window out, and then we're going to check out our frame and our sizing. Once we get all that prepped, then the next step is to put the new window in. So all I'm doing here step by step is just removing all of these pieces of trim, so then I can remove the window frame, the old window frame, and prep that opening to receive a new window. When I do demo, I always wear my safety gloves. This is where I get cut a lot. A lot of sharp edges, a lot of sharp nails. They're everywhere. And quite often when you're grabbing things, you don't even know there's a sharp edge to it, or a nail or a screw sticking out. So I always wear the safety gloves. And if I'm sawing, we're always wearing safety glasses as well. Just trying to get behind the trim here with my pry bar. If I cut all the caulk, it should come out. As I'm pulling this out, I want to make sure I'm not damaging that J-channel. Okay, just keep on going. Get a piece off, find the next piece. This is actually the exterior window stop, and I know I need to get that off of there too. This is connected to that back here, so instead of taking this off, I might as well take the whole thing off, and that'll save me a step. A lot of guys will hit a tool straight on like this. When you are hitting straight on and straight in, you're hitting it with a blunt force and a lot of surface area. It's hard to get through it like that. So when you see me hold this tool, I'm actually always holding it at an angle. There's two benefits to that, is that now I'm trying to penetrate with a point. That's gonna get through the wood a lot easier with a point versus a straight edge. So that's one benefit, is that you will penetrate the wood easier when you're striking it at an angle. The other major benefit to that though is I'm putting less trauma on the wood and the wall and the trim on the inside, because a lot of times I'll leave that trim on the inside of the house and I don't want it to get damaged. I don't want to create paint chips or separations in the sealants. So if you're hitting straight in, you're creating a lot of forces in and out. If I'm going at an angle, the sharper the angle, the less the force and the less trauma I'm putting on the existing woodwork and the wall and the materials that I want to preserve on the inside. A sliding window slides in these tracks. That's why they have wheels on the bottom so they can slide. But when the weather is bad and it rains, it gets into these tracks and the water has to go somewhere. So they drill all these holes. There's one there and one here. And that's called a weep system. So the water goes into the weep system and then it comes out the face here. So that's one of the reasons why I really don't like sliders that much, is because of the weep system. If you're always letting water out, you're also always letting a little bit of air come back in. So a sliding window will never be as efficient as potentially a double hung style window or an awning or a casement style window that doesn't have a weep system. So any window that has a weep system like this is going to always be letting a little bit of air in to the house. So they're not going to be quite as airtight as some of the other products that are out in the industry. All right, one more hidden screw. Okay, you can see on this window, everything had this fiberglass insulation tucked all the way around it. And that's how, years ago, that's how every window contractor installed their windows, and then they tucked in this fiberglass to insulate it. Unfortunately, fiberglass isn't the best insulator out there, and it certainly doesn't stop water. That's where now we use the expanding foam, the low expanding foam sealant, and we call it a foam insulating sealant. Because it does insulate and it also does seal if applied properly. And the other better thing, the benefit of that foam is that once that's cured up, it is solid. It makes that a better installation, a more solid installation. We do a lot of windows out on Lake Erie, and those waves pounding on those windows, you can tell a window that's been installed with foam versus a window that's been installed with fiberglass insulation. There's a lot more structural integrity to that window frame that has cured foam all the way around it. So it definitely gives you a more solid install. And this should pop out of here now. There she goes. So this part at the top here, this was called a head expander. Again, this is an old school technique that a lot of contractors used to use. A lot of them still use it, and a lot of them still use the fiberglass too. With the use of aluminum and making your own trim, there's no benefit to doing a head expander anymore. The benefit years ago is that you could put a head expander on, set your window, do your sill angle across the bottom, and in a lot of cases you didn't even need aluminum. But that's just not how we do it. We want to make sure all the aluminum is brand new and all the flashing is proper, and make sure there's no water getting around this window. So what I'm doing now is just inspecting. I want to make sure everything is dry. If everything's dry, then I know that there's probably no water getting behind this siding. If I find any wet spots or any water up here, then I'm going to start taking apart some siding above this window to see what's not done properly, and I'm going to have to address that. I would hate to put in a brand new window and not address something that was wrong done by a previous contractor from years ago, because if it starts to leak in the future, they're going to be calling me not the previous contractor that did the siding job. So we always want to go that extra step and look at those details to make sure that there's no issues around the old window. I think this frame is pretty much ready to go. I'm not seeing any evidence of moisture. Not too bad. I think we're in good shape. I don't feel anything wet. I don't see any new stains. Everything just looks old as far as the staining evidence that I'm seeing. So I think we're ready to set a window, and I think everything up above it is doing its job. I know that I'm going to have an air gap of a 1/2 inch for my insulation. I got to come up 7.